The whispers in the walls. In a forgotten corner of a small town, there stood an old Victorian house, shrouded in a dense fog that seemed to cling to its weathered frame. The locals whispered about the place, calling it the Grayson House, named after the family that had mysteriously vanished decades ago. No one dared to approach it, believing it was haunted by the spirits of those who once lived there. But curiosity has a way of pulling people in. And that's exactly what happened to Mark and Sarah one chilly October evening. They decided to explore the abandoned house, driven by tales of strange noises and flickering lights. Armed with only a flashlight and their courage, they stepped onto the creaking porch, the wood groaning under their weight. The door, surprisingly ajar, swung open with a haunting creak, inviting them into the darkness within. Inside, the air was stale, filled with the scent of mildew and something sweet and decayed. As they moved further into the house, the beam of their flashlight danced over dust-covered furniture, faded photographs, and tattered curtains that swayed as if touched by invisible hands. A chill ran down Mark's spine. Maybe we should turn back, he whispered, but Sarah, always the braver one, urged him to go on. They reached the living room, where an old piano stood in the corner. Its keys, yellowed and cracked, seemed to beckon them. Sarah, drawn to the instrument, sat down and pressed a key. The sound echoed, a mournful note that hung in the air like a cry for help. Suddenly, a cold breeze swept through the room, extinguishing their flashlight. Panic surged as they fumbled in the dark, desperate for the light. When the flashlight flickered back to life, they saw it a shadowy figure standing at the far end of the room, just beyond the threshold of the light. Its form was indistinct, but they could make out the outline of a woman, her long hair cascading down her back, her eyes glowing with an unnatural light. "Leave this place," she whispered, her voice echoing like a haunting melody that filled the room. Mark grabbed Sarah's arm and they bolted for the door, their hearts racing. As they ran through the hallway, the walls seemed to close in on them, the very house groaning in protest. They could hear whispers, countless voices murmuring in sorrow, begging for release. Just as they reached the front door, it slammed shut, trapping them inside. In that moment of panic, the whispers grew louder, swirling around them like a storm. The shadowy figure appeared again, closer this time, her expression a mix of anger and sadness. "You must help us," she cried, her voice breaking. Mark and Sarah exchanged terrified glances. They had come seeking thrills, but they had found something much darker. In a burst of courage, Mark shouted, "What do you want from us?" The figure pointed towards the staircase, her gaze pleading. With no other choice, they followed her gaze, realizing that to escape, they needed to uncover the truth of the Grayson family. They ascended the creaking stairs, knowing they were stepping deeper into the mystery that bound the spirits to this haunted house. The air thickened with dread, but they pressed on, ready to face whatever lay ahead, determined to free the restless souls trapped within the walls of the Grayson house. As they reached the top, a sudden chill enveloped them, and the whispers grew into a cacophony, urging them to listen. Whatever they would discover in the attic might just change everything.